gift certificate good at Lincoln Printers and Sign Designs for being our WHOW WEZC Lincoln Printers Business of the Month. Nominate a business you'd like featured by emailing us at whow@randyradio.com.
Lincoln Printers and Sign Designs congratulates this local business for their contribution to our community. And for envelopes, wedding invitations, signs, banners, vinyl wraps, and more, find us at lincolnprintersinc.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the phone, Mrs. Mary Vogt, is the superintendent of Bement Schools. Good morning, Mrs. Vogt. How are you today?
Good morning, Seth. I'm great. How are you today?
Oh, man, fantastic. We've got beautiful weather. The spring, I think, is finally here. And, of course, we're getting to the end of the sports season. And, just a lot going on. And, of course, we got summer break coming right around the corner as well. When does summer break start for your kids there in Bement, Mrs. Vogt?
Our kids have one more week left. In fact, our seniors could potentially be done next Tuesday if they have exempted out of all of their final exams.
Is your last day the 19th?
Yes.
What? Look at you guys.
Yeah. So, Seth, there's a trade-off because some area schools have started taking a fall break or they take a little bit longer of a spring break.
Mm-hmm.
So we just had our standard Thanksgiving break that we usually do. And then our spring break, we take the Thursday and Friday before Easter, and then the Monday after Easter. So it is a 5-day break, including that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But we take a full week off for spring break. And now our kids are done May 19th. Our teachers are done May 22nd.
So are you getting feedback on which one they'd prefer? Like, do they want the earlier start to summer break, or do they want that extra time in the middle of the school year?
You know, the calendar that we have has been in place here for a number of years.
Oh, okay.
We co-op with Cerro Gordo for sports, but our two school districts also share teachers. So, for example, their ag teacher comes and teaches at Bement to start the day, and then my industrial tech teacher goes to Cerro Gordo to start the day. Their basic teacher comes to teach here at the end of the day. So we try to keep our calendars right in line with each other for those shared teachers. And both school districts have had this calendar for a number of years. So being an administrator in Monticello, I remember through the years thinking, oh my gosh, Bement is out like 2 weeks before us. Wouldn't that be great? But then the trade-off at spring break this year, I was like, oh man, I miss having a week-long spring break.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But hey, you're out the 19th. And I'll tell you what, we are out here in Clinton the 23rd. I was just talking to a gal that has kids in Mount Pulaski. They're out the 24th. And you know, they were talking about how like it's such an early, particularly my wife, she's like, it's so early, such an early start to the summer. We've got to find childcare until the camp season starts. And I'm like, and now I'm thinking, hey, we could be in Bement where they're out next Friday. And so we would have to have 2 full weeks of childcare, you know, until camp season starts. But no,
well, and here's an interesting idea. One of our school board members teaches in the Arthur Lovington Atwood Hammond district. You know, typically school districts build in 5 days at the end of the school year for snow days. They build their snow days in on Fridays in May. So then if they use a snow day, well, then they go to school on that first Friday in May. But if they don't use any snow days, then they have 4-day weeks for all of May. And 3-day weeks.
No way.
I really like that idea.
I like that idea too.
Yeah. Talking with Brent, he brought up your point of, well, what about childcare? And I said, but your high school kids aren't in school either on those Fridays. You can find a high school kid to watch your younger child. I thought, man, that's outside of the box thinking, and I love that.
You know, and it's interesting because I mean we've seen this talk start to pick up about a 4-day work week, probably a 4-day school week, and all those things. So you know, I don't know, Mrs. Vogt, maybe Arthur Lovington Atwood Hammond is onto something there.
Yeah. She said that some other districts were going to look into it. Now, we've already voted on our calendar for next school year, so it's not something we would be able to do for next year.
Mhm.
But it's definitely something that I want our teachers to take a look at and just consider.
Now, who comes up with the school calendar in our districts?
It depends on the district. What we did here this year was I had a calendar committee that had representation from support staff, classroom teachers, pre-K through 12, secretarial staff as well. And we met 3 times. And then I coordinated with Brett Robinson, the superintendent at Cerro Gordo. And between our 2 districts and my calendar committee, we presented the staff with 2 calendars.
Mhm.
They voted on their preference. And then ultimately it's up to the school board to approve.
Okay.
Some school districts, the school board just establishes the calendar.
Mm.
Some districts, the superintendent works on his or her own and then presents an idea to the school board. But ultimately, the school board makes the final approval, and then we send it to the regional superintendent for approval, and then it goes to the State Board of Education for final approval.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Mrs. Mary Vogt is the superintendent of Bement Schools, our guest on the phone today. Mrs. Vogt, we just we were just shooting the breeze there, and we haven't even touched on anything we thought we were going to get to this morning. So let's start with, of course, the summer that's coming after next Friday. Holy cow! Just can't believe that is when Bement starts its summer break. But be that as it may, so maybe the 20th, I'm sure you'll be starting up all those summer projects. What do you have on the docket this summer?
So this summer, we are going to replace our security cameras. We're upgrading the cameras. We're installing some additional ones to take care of a few blind spots that we have on campus. And then along with that project, we're also going to replace our intercom system. And with that intercom system, I think a few months ago, we touched on some school safety issues, et cetera. And with our intercom system, it's also going to have a panic button that ties right into being able to alert law enforcement if there is a situation that would require them to come to us. That intercom system is going to be part of a digital clock that will go in each of the classrooms, and then also say if there's a fire, it will flash an alert on the screen. So, if there was anyone with, a hearing loss or, needed that visual signal, then that will be provided as well. So one of the bigger projects tying into that, we're also going to switch over from having our internet provided through Mediacom to fiber optic. And we're also going to rerun the wiring because of, being able to upgrade to the fiber optic, upgrading cameras, upgrading internet. And then next summer, we're planning to upgrade our phone system. It's been about 25 years since we've upgraded the phone system.
Oh, my word.
We're rewiring.
What are you working with? Are you working with like the what? I don't even know what they call it, where you have to like spin the dial for each number you want to get to?
Rotor, just about.
That's funny. 25 years since you've updated the phones there. Wow, that's something.
It really is. It really is. And, kudos to the people who first installed the wiring like for the internet, because my understanding it was some of our building administrators at the time who were running this wiring to provide internet to the staff. And so I'm hiring a company that this is what they do for schools, and we're working with Beck Tech out of Decatur, and my goal with them is to become what they call a lighthouse district, where the materials and products that we're using, they'll be able to bring other school administrators through, show them what we have and what we're working towards, again, to upgrade our system and, strengthen our school security and be able to bring those districts in and say, listen, this is what Bement's doing. A school population of 300 students in a community with 1,800 people, easily 10 minutes before we would get any law enforcement actually on site if there was a catastrophe. And so we're doing everything we can to try to reduce that response time and keep our kids safe.
Well, Mrs. Vogt, man, I can't believe it, but let's take a time out and let's dive more into the security and the internet piece of that, because that's a lot of where schools are at these days is, needing better security, and they need better internet for the learning environment. So let's take a time out and we'll hit on those things when we come back. In the meantime, where do folks go to keep up with the latest in all things Bement schools?
www.bement.k12.il.us.
Mary Vogt is the superintendent of Bement Schools, our guest on the phone. More to come with her here on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
LFB.org.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn lower, beans lower, and wheat trading higher at this hour. July corn 5.80 3/4 down a penny and a half. September corn down 1 3/4, 5.13 1/4. December new crop 5.11 3/4 down 2. July beans 13.97 down 8.5. August beans down 8.5, 13.28 3/4. November beans 12.39 1/4 down 8 3/4. July wheat 6.39 1/2 up 12 1/4. September wheat up 12 1/4, 6.51 1/4. July bean meal 431.10 down 30 cents. July bean oil 50.62 down 53 cents. Livestock market, May feeders 204.30 up 17 cents. June live cattle 163.42 up 47 cents. May lean hogs 76.95 up 35 cents. Energy market, June crude oil 71.73 up 86 cents.
At Love It Once More Thrift Store in Clinton, we have everything you need for a great summer, including swimwear. Shop with us to save on the things you need for summertime fun. This is Connie reminding you to check us out on Facebook or doitdailynews.com.
This is Ryan Utterback. Do you know what Utterback Real Estate offers for free?
Free hugs?
No, free market analysis on your property so you know what it's worth.
I kind of like free hugs.
And that's why you're the other Ryan.
Get your free market analysis by clicking the Utterback Real Estate icon at doitdailynews.com.
Hey, this is Todd Gleason from Illinois Extension here with a time change for our daily market report on WHOW. You can now catch our daily review of the commodity markets at 5:06 on all of WHOW's many platforms. You'll still hear all of our commodity analysts and weather professionals each afternoon, but at a brand new time. And you'll still hear the weekly wrap-up of the commodity markets right here on WHOW when Commodity Week airs Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. Remember the time change for the daily closing market report on WHOW at our new time, 5:06 p.m. weekdays.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Mrs. Mary Vogt is the superintendent of Bement Schools, my guest on the phone here for this morning. Now, Mrs. Vogt, you were telling us before we went to break that you've got a lot going on at your schools this summer, a lot of contracted work and those sorts of things. The two big ones are security and internet at your schools. Talk a little bit about security and just the kind of ongoing analysis that is, and where you feel Bement schools are at in its security. How about that?
Sure. So, I've mentioned how long it's been since our phones have been upgraded. Well, it has been, it's been quite a while since the cameras have been upgraded as well. So I can't even use like the Internet Explorer platform to access the cameras. I have to use an old platform. And so
are we talking Windows 95 here?
We might as well be. So it is concerning because if there was an incident, the steps that I would have to take to access and, potentially see what is happening and where it's happening, it's pretty tedious. And so we are going to upgrade to a system that the administrators and we will be able to view from our phones. We will be able to patch in law enforcement if there is a need for them to see what's happening at our school. And, again, much to the disbelief of some people, I don't actually sit and watch our camera monitors all day long. So we really need to be able to access that playback feature if there is an incident, so that we can get in there and see. Unfortunately, I'm sure you're aware, with our athletic contests, sometimes we have fans who don't always behave appropriately. And we did have an incident this year, and right now we don't have cameras in our gym. And so to be able to go back and identify some of the people who were causing the issue, we couldn't do that. But with this upgrade, we will be able to. We will also be able to say there's a person that is, if there's an order of protection against them. We will be able to, set our outside cameras up so that, or I apologize, not our outside cameras, but our door security system, so that if we notice that person is on site, it'll be a matter of pushing a button on our phone, and they're not going to be able to gain access. So just a lot of in-depth features that are available now that were not available 15 years ago when schools first started in cameras. So
well, and it's interesting because as you were talking there, I was thinking, man, you would think that you would have to have better security as in terms of cameras and such. But then I got to thinking as well, a lot of security measures over the last several years have been about, entry and who has access to the building and how they gain access to the building. So, maybe like the security cameras themselves, maybe that fell behind in the conversation. Speak to the other, measures of security in place in Bement right now.
Well, what we're also going to be able to do is, right now our doors to enter the building, there's a keypad where we assign a code that people punch in the code to get in. We're going to be able to install a program that I can push out on an app to each of the staff members, a specific code for them that they will scan their phone to gain entry. And then, say for coaches, I will be able to assign a separate code for them that they're able to gain entry. And so then we will be able to log in and see, okay, who has used their code to come in and out of the building if there is an incident over the weekend, for example. I just think back to one of our projects as well is to update some of the air conditioning units. We're operating out of an 1899 building. So conditioning was not part of their plan, but they had these nice high ceilings and large windows and could prop doors open to let air flow through. Well, we cannot prop those doors open anymore. So we need to replace some of the air conditioning units so that we can keep our exterior doors locked down.
You really just need a new building is what you need, Mrs. Vogt.
Well, wouldn't that be nice? But
doesn't money just grow on trees? You can't just go out back and pull a few $1,000 bills off the thing.
I never actually have looked at the trees on our school grounds to see if they have money. Perhaps that's something I do.
No, but in all seriousness, I mean, and that's got to be a challenge on its own. Is trying to update the security of a building in a time where school security. I mean, those two words were probably not even uttered in the same sentence, back when it was built. And here we are 100 some years later, and you've got to, that's top of mind. I mean, that's some of the first things you think about with a building.
Yeah. And yeah, we're in a building over 100 years old, but at the same time, if you've never been to Bement schools, this facility has been so well maintained and is in such great shape, considering the age of it. I mean, my office is in one of these. It's an old classroom that's over 100 years old, still original hardwood. Some of the built-in features, it's just not something you get in new construction, and I love it. And so, I'm not ready to say, hey, let's build a new facility, but let's do what we can to make this facility as safe as we possibly can.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mrs. Vogt, maybe you and I can catch up in June and highlight everything else that's going on around you for the summer months, and get kind of an idea of everything that's happening in Bement, because we just scratched the surface on all the things going on this summer. But I do need to let you go for the morning. I hate to do that to you, but if folks are interested in, again, just keeping up with the latest in Bement schools, where do they go?
www.bement.k12.il.us.
That is, again, Mary Vogt, Superintendent of Bement Schools, my guest. Network News on the way.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM